Good evening, friends. Pinotuni. Welcome to our online broadcast here from the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. Thank you for joining with us daily. It is really important to spend some time away from your daily duties, daily activities, and spend some time perhaps for spiritual practice, or commit yourself to daily Buddha Puja, chanting and meditation. So this hour that we dedicate here in the London Mindfulness Meditation Center, we share with you so that you can also participate in the observances from home or wherever you are, and especially during this time of difficulty. It may serve a great purpose for your well-being, for your peace of mind, as well as not just to accumulate merit, but also to bless your families, yourself and your loved ones, or anyone who may have been affected by illnesses. So we share our chanting, which contains the virtues of the Triple Gem and the blessings of the Buddha, the compassion of the Buddha for your well-being. So today is Thursday, so we have our weekly meditation on mindfulness, so short reflection and collective practice together after our Paritta Chanting. So today Mrs. Nandani Tadani would like to bless her dear children, Chamari Almeida, Mohan Almeida, Guy Almeida, son-in-law Dinesh, and Junel Almeida, daughter-in-law, and also grandchildren, Sanuka, Minuka and Leo Almeida. So would like to bless everyone, and especially sisters, as well as Mary Willman and Janet Willman, for their good health and happiness. So she would like to bless all the family members and extended family members with good health and happiness, especially during this time of difficulty. May they all be well, happy and peaceful. May they all be blessed with good health, and may Nandani Tadani Amma as well be blessed with good health and happiness. And especially today, the family would all like to share merit with Guy Almeida's father-in-law and Mrs. Jonel Almeida's dear beloved father, who happened to take his last journey today. So the funeral took place today. Mr. Martin Willman, so in Brighton. So we would like to share merit that we accumulate today. After Paritta Chanting, before meditation, we will share merit and bless him. So may Martin Wellman be happy and peaceful wherever he is. May he receive our blessings and make his sansaric life happy, peaceful, and eventually may he attain the blissful state of Nibbana. So with such righteous intention, let us join in the Buddha Puja and chanting. So first of all, please say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa 3 times to observe 5 precepts. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Pānātipātā vēramaṇī sikkhappadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Adinādānā vēramaṇī sikkhappadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Kāmesu miccācārā vēramaṇī sikkhappadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkhappadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Surāmeraya majjapamādatthāna vēramaṇī sikkhappadaṃ samādhiyāmi. Tisaraṇena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkitaṃ katvā appamādena sampādetabaṃ. So let's worship the Buddha together. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagavā arahaṃ samma sambuddho vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sārati sattā deva manussānaṃ buddho bhagavāti. Buddhaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Ye ca buddhā atītā ca ye ca buddhā anāgatā paccupannā ca ye buddhā ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā. Natti me saraṇaṃ aññaṃ buddho me saraṇaṃ varaṃ. Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalaṃ. Uttamangena vandehaṃ pādapaṃ suvaruttamam. Buddheyo khalito doso buddho khametu taṃ mamam. Swakhato bhagavata dhammo sandittiko akaliko. Ehi passiko opanayiko paccattam veditambo viññuhiti. Dhammam jīvita pariyantam saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Ye ca dhamma atitace ye ce dhamma anagata paccapanna caye dhamma ahang vandami sabbada natti me saranang anyang dhammo me saranang varang etene sacca vajjene hotu me jaya mangalang uttamangene vandehang dhamman cati vidhang varang dhammeyo kalito doso dhammo kametu tang mamang supatipanno bhagavatu savaka sangho ujjapatipanno bhagavatu savaka sangho nyayapatipanno bhagavatu savaka sangho samicipatipanno bhagavatu savaka sangho yadidang cattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavatu savaka sangho ahuneyo pahuneyo dakhineyo anjali karaniyo anuttarang punyakhetang lokasati sanghang jivita pariyantang saranang gacchami ye ca sangha atitace ye ca sangha anagata paccapanna caye sangha ahang vandami sabbada natti me saranang anyang sangho me saranang varang etene sacca vajjene hotu me jaya mangalang uttamangene vandehang sanghang cati vidottamang sangheyo kalito doso sangho kametu tang mamang Ganasarapadittene dipene tamadansina tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang vannagandha gunopetang etang kusuma santating pujayami munindassa siripada saroruhe pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punyena metena ca hotu mokkhaṃ pupphaṃ milayati yatha idammi kāyo tathāyāti vināsa bhāvaṃ adhivāsetu no bhante pānīyaṃ parikappitaṃ anukampaṃ upādāya patiganhātu uttama adhivāsetu no bhante gilāna paccayaṃ imaṃ anukampaṃ upādāya patiganhātu uttama adhivāsetu no bhante pesajjaṃ parikappitaṃ anukampang upadaya patiganhatu uttame adhivasetu no bhante sambang saddhaya pujitan anukampang upadaya patiganhatu uttame vandami cetiyang sabbang sabbetani supatititang saririka dhatu mahabodhing buddha rupang sakalang sada yassa mule nisinnove sambari vijayang aka patto sabbanyutang satta vandetam bodhipadapam ime ete mahabodhi lokanathena pujita aham pite namassami bodhiraja namatte kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang accayan kamami bante puripanye tathagata kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang accayan kamami dhamme sanditthika akalika kayena vaca cittena pamadena maya katang accayan kamami sangha supatipanna anuttara ettavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ettavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya ettavata ca ammehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idang me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo idam me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo idam me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya idam me punyam asavakkayavaham hotu sambe dukkha pamuncatu. So we have just finished with the puja. Now we are going to chant Ratana Sutta and Jina Panjara Sutta. And today especially Mrs. Nandini Tadani would like to bless herself as well her family members and the extended family. So she would like to bless daughter Chamri Almeida and son-in-law Dinesh, son Mohan Almeida, and also younger son Guy Almeida and daughter-in-law Chanel Almeida, and also her grandchildren Sanuka, Minuk and Leo, and especially would like to actually share Mary with her in-laws, Mary Wellman and Janet Wellman. So we are going to chant the suttas to bless you all, family members, with good health and happiness. May you be blessed with good health during this time of difficulty. May all the blessings of the Buddha embodied in the chantings be conducive for your well-being. And especially may you all who are participating online, may you all be blessed with good health during this time of difficulty. May you have all the courage and determination to face any anticipated difficulties that might be ahead of us, or any difficulties that we are experiencing. May you be free from those difficulties. If you know of anyone who is ill, please bear them in your thoughts to bless them with speedy recovery. So you can share our YouTube link or our Facebook link, so lmmc.online if it is YouTube. So you can share so that they can listen to the chanting if they wish to, or if they are able to do. May all the treatment they are taking be successful. And as always, we bless all the key workers, including NHS staff, doctors and nurses, working tirelessly to look after the patients and the families. So may they be blessed with good health. May they also develop courage and determination to continue their valuable services. So with such righteous intention, we are going to chant the suttas. Please listen to the chanting with great attention and respect. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammam Munirajassa Sunantu Saggamokadam Paritta Savanakalu Ayang Bhadanta Paritta Savanakalu Ayang Bhadanta Paritta Savanakalu Ayang Bhadanta Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Yani Bhutani Samagatani Bhummani Vayani Veyantalike Sabbeva Bhuta Sumana Bhavantu Atopi Sakkacca Sunantu Bhasitam Tasmahi Bhutani Samita Sabbe Mittam Karote Manusya Pajaye Divacharatto Haranti Ye Baling Tasmahini Rakkata Appamatta Yang Kinchi Vittang Idhva Hurang Va Sagge Suvayang Ratanang Panitang Nano Samang Atti Tathagatena Idampi Buddhe Ratanang Panitang Etena Saccena Suvatti Hotu Khayang Viragang Ametang Panitang Yadajjaga Sakke Muni Samahito Natena Dhammena Samatti Kinchi Idampi Dhamme Ratanang Panitang Etena Saccena Suvatti Hotu Yang Buddha Settho Parivannai Sucing Samadhimanantari Kanyamahu Samadhina Tena Samona Vijjati Idampi Dhamme Ratanang Panitang Etena Saccena Suvatti Hotu Ye Puggala Attha Satang Pasattaha Chattari Etani Yugani Honti Te Dakhineya Sugatassa Savakaye Te Sudinnani Mahapalani Idampi Sanghe Ratanang Panitang Etena Saccena Suvatti Hotu Ye Suppayutta Manasa Dalhene Nikamino Gotama Sasanamhi te pattipatta amatang vigaiha laddha mudha nibbuting bhunjamana idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu yatinda khilo pataving sito siya chatubhivate bhiya sampakampiyo tathupamang sappurisang vadami yo ariya saccani avecca passati idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu ye ariya saccani vibhavayanti gambhira panyena sudesitani kincapi te honti bhusappamattana te bhavan attamang adiyanti idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu sahavassa dassana sampadaya tayassu dhamma jahita bhavanti sakkaya ditthi vicikiccitanca silabbataṃ vāpi yadatti kinci chatuha payehi ca vippamutto cacabithanani abhabbo kātum idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu kincapi sokammang karoti papakang kayena vaca udacetasa abhabbo sotassa paticchādāya abhabbata dittha padassa vutta idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu vanappa gumbe yatā pussitagge gimhāna māse pathamasmiṃ gimhe tathupamang dhamma varang adesai nibbāna gāmiṃ paramang hitāya idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu varo varanyo varado varaharo anuttaro dhamma varang adesai idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu khīnaṃ purānaṃ navaṃ natti sambhavaṃ viratta cittā āyatike bhavasmiṃ te khīna bījā avirulhicchandā nibbanti dhīrā yathāyaṃ padīpo idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvattiyotu yāni dabhutāni samāgatāni bhummāni vāyāni vayantalikke tathāgataṃ deva manussa pūjitaṃ buddhaṃ namassāma suvattiyotu yāni dabhutāni samāgatāni bhummāni vāyāni vayantalikke tathāgataṃ deva manussa pūjitaṃ dhammaṃ namassāma suvattiyotu yāni dabhutāni samāgatāni bhummāni vāyāni vayantalikke tathāgataṃ deva manussa pūjitaṃ saṅghaṃ namassāma suvattiyotu etena sacca vajjena dukkhavupasamintu te etena sacca vajjena bhayavupasamintu te etena sacca vajjena rogavupasamintu te ජයාසනගතා වීරා ජෙත්වා මාරං සවාහිනින් චතුසච්චාමතර සංයේපි විංසු නරා සභා තන්හංකරාදයෝ බුද්ධා අට්ඨවී සතිනායකා සම්බේ පතිට්ඨිතා ත්වේහං මත්තකේතේ මුනිස්සරා සිරේ පතිට්ඨිතා බුද්ධා ධම්මෝ ච තව ලෝචනේ සංඝෝ පතිට්ඨිතෝ ත්වේහං උරේ සබ්බ ගුණාකරෝ හදයේ අනුරුද්ධෝ ච සාරිපුත්තෝ ච දක්ඛිනේ කොණ්ඩඤ්ඤෝ පිට්ඨි භාගස්මින් මොග්ගල්ලානෝ සිවාමකේ දක්ඛිනේ සවනේ ත්වේහං ආහුං ආනන්ද රාහුලා කස්සපෝච මහානාමෝ උභෝසුං වාමසෝතකේ කේසන්තේ පිට්ඨි භාගස්මින් සුරියෝ වියපබංකරෝ නිසින්නෝ සිරි සම්පන්නෝ සෝභිතෝ මුනිපුංගවෝ කුමාර කස්සපෝ නාම මහේසී චිත්‍රවාදකෝ සෝත්වීහං වදනේ නිච්ඡං පතිට්ඨාසි ගුණාකරෝ පුන්නෝ අංගුලිමාලෝච උපාලී නන්ද සීවලී තේරා පංචයිමේ ජාතා ලලාටේ තිලකා තව සේසාසීති මහාතේරා විජිතා ජින සාවකා ජලන්තා සීල තේජේන අංගමංගේසු සන්ඨිතා රතනං පුරතෝ ආසී දක්ඛිනේ මෙත්ත සුත්තකං තජග්ගං පච්චතෝ ආසී වාමී අංගුලිමාලකං කන්දමෝර පරිත්තංච ආටානාටිය සුත්තකං ආකාසච්ඡදනං ආසීසේසාපාකාර සංඤිතා ජිනානා බල සංයුත්තේ ධම්මපාකාර ලංකතේ වසතෝ තේ චතුකිච්චේන සදා සම්බුද්ධ පංජරේ වාත පිත්තාදි සංජාතා බාහිරජ්ජත් පද්දවා අසේසා විලයන් යන්තු අනන්ත ගුණ තේජසා ජින පංජර මජ්ජට්ඨං විහරන්තං මහීතලේ සදා පාලෙන්තු ත්වං සබ්බේතේ මහා පුරිසා සභා ඉච්ඡේව මච්ඡන්තකතෝ සුරක්ඛෝ ජිනානුභාවේන ජිතෝපපද්දවෝ බුද්ධානුභාවේන හතාරි සංඝෝ චරාහි සද්ධම්මනුභාව පාලිතෝ ඉච්ඡේව මච්ඡන්තකතෝ සුරක්ඛෝ ජිනානුභාවේන ජිතෝපපද්දවෝ ධම්මානුභාවේන හතාරි සංඝෝ චරාහි සද්ධම්මනුභාව පාලිතෝ ඉච්ඡේව මච්ඡන්තකතෝ සුරක්ඛෝ ජිනානුභාවේන ජිතෝපපද්දවෝ සංඝානුභාවේන හතාරි සංඝෝ චරාහි සද්ධම්මනුභාව පාලිතෝ සද්ධම්මපාකාර පරික්ඛිතෝ සී අට්ඨාරියා අට්ඨ දිසාසු හොಂತಿ එත්තන්තරේ අට්ඨනාථා භවಂತಿ උද්ධං විතානං වජිනාඨිතාතේ බින්දන්තෝ මාරසේනං තව සිරසිටිතෝ බෝධිමාරුය්‍ය සත්තා මොග්ගල්ලානෝ සිවාමේ වසති භුජතටේ දක්ඛිනේ සාරිපුත්තෝ ධම්මෝ මජ්ජේ උරස්මින් විහෙරති භවතෝ මොක්ඛතෝ මෝරයෝනින් සම්පත්තෝ බෝධිසත්තෝ චරණ යුගගතෝ භානුලෝකේකනාතෝ සම්භාව මංගලම පද්දව දුන්නිමිත්තං සබ්බීති රෝගගාදෝ සමසේස නින්දා සබ්බන්තරාය භය දුස්සුපිනං අකන්තං බුද්ධානුභාව පවරේන පයාතුනාසං Sambhava mangalam pandava dunnimittang sambhiti roga gadosamasesa ninda Sabbantaraya bhayadusupinang akantang dhammanubhava pavarena payatunasang Sambhava mangalam paddava dunnimittang sambhiti roga gadosamasesa ninda Sabbantaraya bhayadusupinang akantang sanghanubhava pavarena payatunasang Devo vassatu kalena sassa sampatti hetu ce Pito bhavatu loko ce raja bhavatu dhammiko Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu loka sasanang Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu dhamma desanang Akasattha ca bhummattha devanaga mahiddhika Punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkhantu mang paranti sadhu sadhu sadhu. So we have finished our chanting today, this evening. So we bless you all with good health and happiness. May you stay blessed with good health by the virtues of the triple gem embodied in those sutras that you chanted. May the compassion of the Buddha be upon you for your well-being and good health. And today, as the sponsor's intention is to also bless Mrs. Nandini Tadani and her family members and extended family members with good health and happiness. And if you had anyone in your thoughts, may they all have speedy recovery, may they be blessed with good health, may all treatment they are taking be successful, and may they soon be able to enjoy good health. And as always, we dedicate the chanting to all our key workers, including NHS staff, doctors and nurses. May they all develop courage and determination to continue their valuable services, and may they also stay blessed with good health. So with such righteous intention, we say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So Mrs. Nandini Tadani would also like to share merit with her departed in-law. The funeral took place today in Brighton. So may the father-in-law of Guy Almeida, her youngest son, and daughter-in-law Mrs. Jonelle Almeida, so may her father, Mr. Martin Wellman, receive our blessings. May he be happy and peaceful wherever he is. May all the merit accumulated today be conducive for his well-being in afterlife, and may his samsaric life be happy, and eventually may he attain the blissful state of Nibbana through his righteous aspirated path. So Mrs. Nandini Tadani would like to share merit and do punyanmodana. So we say sadhu 3 times together. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So today is Thursday. It is our weekly meditation on mindfulness, reflection and practice. So you can adjust yourself in your convenience so that you stay focused for the next few minutes. So if you are a regular participant, we have been talking about the 3 unwholesome thoughts or roots or unwholesome chaitasikas, mental states that usually affect our day-to-day activities. And if we are not mindful, we will really be as puppets of those driving factors, so we will be controlled by them throughout. So as a recap quickly, those three unwholesome mental thoughts that we're talking about in the past is craving or tanha, or attachment to our sensory desires or pleasures, and most of the time we always pursue those desires, or we always pursue our sensory experiences and encounters to meet the desires within ourselves. We did briefly mention that sometimes we always try to meet our expectation that we may have developed within ourselves, which I'm going to focus a bit more later on, but our desires are always cross-referenced to a mental thought that has been conditioned within oneself as a reaction, and one would maybe always have that as the reference point. So, for example, a taste that we like is in our head, and every time we eat something, perhaps the same dish, we will always try to refer it to that taste to see if it meets it, or if it exceeds, or if it is not meeting. So then there is this judgment that develops within ourselves. So in Pali, for those who are quite familiar, we call this Sankapparaga. So it is this thought that we have that we always refer to. So all our sensory experiences are referred to that. And with that reference, we always develop like or dislike. We develop a judgmental opinion. We have an opinion of everything we see, we hear, we taste, we feel, we smell, and sometimes even we think. So there is this reference point that we always have, this Sankapparaga, which we really hold into it, or we hold onto it, and in Pali we call it upadana, which is clinging. So because you cannot free yourself from that thought that you have within oneself of an experience or at the reference point, we always might be driven, if we are not mindful, driven by those desires. So in the 5 hindrances, we also have this as sensual desires, or pursuing or going after, looking for sensual desires. So the 5 senses, they can be a hindrance to your development of even meditation. So for example, you might be sitting comfortably, or you might be sitting in your convenience, but then if there is a pain, we will start twitching. So because we are consciously or unconsciously looking for that happiness through our body. So if you think the cushion is not rightly placed, you will start twitching and moving around a lot. If you think you want heat but then you are cold, then we will start looking for that heat. Although while we are sitting down, your mind is always into that. You are hooked into that heat, you're hooked into the cold, you're hooked into the taste, you're hooked into everything. So day in, day out, we are conditioned by this attachment that we have, and if we are not aware, we will be unhappy. So secondly, we talk about was mana, which is conceit. So this is just to recap quickly. So mana is about the tendency to compare, to measure, to judge, always again with the reference point to yourself, which perhaps obviously we know that we don't have this concept of I, it is this self-created I, but then we compare everything that we have, everything that we own, everything that we think we are, and then we will develop a judgment saying either we are superior, or that experience is better, or it is equal, or that experience is equal, or it is inferior, and then you would develop maybe lack of self-esteem. So superior, equality, or even inferiority. So we call this mana. Mana means conceit. So we're always having this attitude. Every time we see something, every time we taste something, there is this comparison made to something which we may have, which is then arising within oneself for contributing to the unhappiness that we may be experiencing, or we may experience. So sometimes your possessions, your perhaps assets, or perhaps simple things, maybe like phone or even your pair of shoes, sometimes as soon as we see other people's possessions, we might then start having this comparative attitude. Oh, mine is better. Maybe I'm going to get a better one next time, feeling inferior. Or if you have the same item, then you feel at least a bit happy. But if you have the ego within oneself, then you don't want to be equal, you want to be better. You want to have better things. If you can't stand, sometimes then we develop jealousy. And when the jealousy arises, there is so much impatience within oneself. So you can see how conceit can really be a big problem, and most of the time they sometimes work underneath our conscience. They sometimes work very differently. If you're not mindful, then you are already into it. You are already into that. You're already doing something. So it's quite important to actually develop that awareness. So the third one was, which will take a long time for us. The third one is about ditthi, views. And as soon as you hear the word views, you know there are so many reference points that we make, perhaps in terms of right view, wrong view, your personal knowledge, your personal conclusive prejudice perhaps, or conclusive judgments, which becomes a fixed point again for you. There are many ways of looking at that. So ditthi can be political, it can be social, it can be nationalistic. There are lots of viewpoints that we actually can't free ourselves from. Sometimes even gender issues can be a problem. So all in all, it is all about the expectation that you develop within oneself, assuming that there is someone to experience, there is someone to actually feel, or there is someone to actually be. So we use the word I and my. Yes, in general knowledge or general usage, we do use the word I am eating, I am sitting, this is mine, this is ours. So we have that general conventional usage in our day-to-day language. Without that we cannot function, we cannot communicate. But when it comes into the deeper context of the experience, perhaps we might want to question, what is this I? Am I in control? Can I control this I? And therefore, in terms of this expectations that we develop, which ends up always in dissatisfaction, because you're trying to meet the needs of this I. We are trying to meet the conditions of this I. I want to be better. I want to do this. So we fail to realize that there are lots of things that are beyond our control. A lot of things are impermanent. So today we will look at the ground level, the basic level of this. So perhaps even developing attachment to your possessions, and you might not want things to change. So when you develop this contact with perhaps your personal property, whatever you possess, could be a pen, could be a mobile, to massive, maybe a house, we really develop some form of attachment, thinking about the person that is there to experience these. So we do develop some form of expectations. So you don't want things to break. So I don't want my phone to break. So I will have developed a bond with the phone. I would see myself in the phone, perhaps, or this is just an example. So when my phone breaks, perhaps you don't feel the pain, but I feel the pain. When whatever happens to me, we don't feel the pain unless it happens to you. So we have this sort of lack of understanding of change that is always existent. Now, because why? Because we have perhaps concluded that this is not to change, this should not change, this should be this way. And if you look at that, we develop all our habits, all our personalities, if we have developed all our day-to-day activities, sometimes are part of it. We want certain things to happen in our way. If we fail to understand that it will not happen in our way all the times or most of the times, then we are always in a big struggle trying to fight as a result of the denial of the things that are beyond our control. There is this deep within all our things. We need to obviously do everything, take every precautions. That is not what I'm trying to point out here, but it is about this understanding that always comes to the forefront, that shapes up your self, your looking, your viewpoints, your actions, your interactions, the way you speak, the way you think. So, and just take a few moments. If you stay doing nothing, as soon as you stop doing something, have you ever felt that you are talking to yourself? I need to do this. I'm doing this. I'm this. Always there's something that is actually triggering your thought processes. We're churning this information, or even we are digging the information from our memories or minds and getting involved with it. Just take an example. At one time, as soon as maybe once you just sat down after your lunch or after you've done something, you're non-stop thinking of something. And what will happen? You start with the word I. I'm going to do this now, or I'm going to do this. So there is always this something that is actually working with our. It's like we are talking to ourselves. You're mentally or in your mindset. As soon as you stop doing something, now what do I do next? Now what's happening? What's happening to this? What's happening to that? So much things, and actually your mind is not stopping to think, and we are so controlled. We are controlled by this thinking process, this machine that's actually working within ourselves. So busy thinking, busy planning, busy going back to history, busy trying to actually dig up the information, trying to find causes of what happened, busy trying to actually rewrite the incidents or the stories behind the incident, and busy developing fear sometimes, busy developing anxiety, all without your control. It's happening. And are you aware of it? Are you aware of it? So it's quite important to actually see how lots of these thought processes are developing within oneself, perhaps sometimes without your knowledge. The moment you stop doing something, some of us even go to sleep with a big tick list in your head. or tomorrow I have to do this, I have to do this, and then you lose sleep. Some of us actually, as soon as we wake up, we have a big tick list in our head. This is my daily job. So it is quite unhealthy. It's quite unhealthy. We are always churning ideas. And the same thing will happen when you actually, when maybe meditate. As soon as you close your eyes, the thought starts to come. So developing this stillness is quite important. So developing this stillness means just to stop thinking for a while. Stop bringing this I into your head. Stop bringing this my into your heads. Because as soon as that comes in, there's so much things that will entail with it. And you are completely out of control sometimes if you're not mindful. If you don't develop this mindfulness, you are then going to get involved with all the thought processes. You calculate things. Why? Then in the end what happens is, because all the things are being calculated, being worked on, being getting involved, you can see that we don't end up being happy. We will do meditation or mudita one day, but that is not the point of my reflection today. We don't end up happy always. And when you don't end up happy, we're always working on it. We're always working on it. Maybe this, maybe that. We develop fear, insecure feelings with that. We fail to recognize that this is what's happening within ourselves. Anxiety, depression, insecure feelings, fear even in relationships. One moment you are happy, and the other moment you are happy, and then other moment you are completely fearing that something will happen in the relationship or something will happen to you. Sometimes we fear the climate. Some people might even, we might have different types of fear perhaps. Obviously, we all should look after ourselves nowadays, but we also maybe need to learn how to be kind to what's happening nowadays, and make sure you look after yourself and your family members and take precautions for other people as well. But most of the time, sometimes when it comes into the uncertainty, we develop so much thought processes. So because of the opinion that we have that that everything is perhaps under our control or can be under our control, we fail to realize that things are impermanent. So therefore, even the previous two mental thoughts, states, tanha, we fail to realize that. So when we hook into one like, we develop bhava tanha. You want it to last longer, failing to realize that it is going to change. When there is something that doesn't meet your expectation, then we develop dissatisfaction. And then we have again a following thought that you want to get something good, so you want to reject it and then look for the alternative or the better. So we develop vibhava tanha, but actually we are looking at the other, which we already have, that reference point that I'm talking about, that we try to look for that. So you take measurements to actually work for that. You start planning to work for that. So one thing that we have perhaps, when we fail to understand that there is this no control, which is anatta. We are not in control. We can take precautions, but things will happen. We have to learn how to see as it is. The word is tathata. So as it is. So in the state of as it is. So the Pali word is tathata, and when things are happening as it is, we can bring in all our knowledge of impermanence, because those component things, those things that happen, those things that exist are there because of the conditioning things that were there. So when in the absence of the conditioning things or the reasons or the causes, then there will be nothing. So now that is just for the ground level of the materialistic things. So if there is no oxygen, the candle behind me will blow off, will go off. So if there is no wax, the candle will also go off. But because there is oxygen, because there is a wick, and because there is candle, and I struck it, the matchstick to burn it or to light it, now it is lighting. So when the conditions are there, it will stay. When the condition ceases, it will not be there. We have to try to realize that the same with the mind or mental thoughts. All the thoughts arise because of the conditions as well. So every moment we are generating mental thoughts. So that's why it's called sankhara, conditioned. So we get conditioned. So we have this conditioned thought. So the external or your memories can be the conditioning factors. What we generate as a response is the conditioned sankhata. Okay, so if you develop happiness, it is because of certain conditions meeting your needs, your expectations. If you develop unhappiness, then surely the conditions are not met. If you develop fear, there are conditions that arise for it. And if you develop anything, any thought, even if any responsive matter, so it is the condition. So we develop this conditioned state of mind, sankhata citta. So it is important to actually see that. So the strategy is not about avoiding it. The strategy, what we are trying to develop mindfulness here, is about being aware of it, what you are seeing. So if you are skillful enough and if you have developed, we will not let the thoughts arise within oneself, because we have seen as it is. We have seen the objects that are entering through your senses. We are aware of it, and we would like to leave it as it is, rather than you form an opinion about it. We don't form opinions about what we see here. If we do it, that's what we are doing at other times. So at least during your sitting session, you try to learn how to not form an opinion. Don't form an opinion about what your mind is engaging with during your sitting session, which should then also be applied to our day-to-day activities when we are not meditating. But our mindfulness can let us develop this skill. So all you have to do is to be observant where the mind is given the moment, because sati or mindfulness, establishing mindfulness, is about learning or being aware where the mind is at the given moment. Is it in the seeing, or is it in the hearing? Those 6 channels. Is it in the taste? Is it in the smell? Is it in the body experience? Or is it in the thinking channel? So as soon as you're aware, note that it is there. Recognize, acknowledge that it is there. So your eyes are closed, but you might be watching a nice recap of a movie or an incident. So just note seeing, not what it is, not whether you like it or dislike it, not to analyze it, such as sound. Don't even say it's a male voice or a female voice. because we'll have already understood what the sound is, because we have applied our sanya perceptions to it. So you hear a gong like this, you know it is a bell. Now don't even come to the point as far as the bell, just a sound. Not even you like it or dislike it, because the moment you say it is a bell sound, you have put in your knowledge to actually come to a point which will then might enter into your likes and dislikes. So hearing only, not even listening, not even the bell. So you might hear a siren, don't even call it an ambulance or something, just hearing, because your mind was in the hearing channel. The moment you talk about ambulance, and you don't, because once you started getting involved, if we sort of like put a hook into it, then we might fear, or we might actually be happy, or we might start thinking, oh, where is it coming? Is it neighbor? Lots of thoughts will start developing. So hearing only, and then let it go. Don't get involved. Let it go, and then come back to breathing. Because our mind is so active. Sometimes we don't even, when we start even watching our breath, the funny thing that will happen is sometimes we don't see the end of that breath. We're already starting to think of the next breath. So try to be with the breath. It's like when you're eating, you're not finishing chewing your food, you're already planning your next mouthful. So you're not eating, you are chewing now, but your hand or your mind is already in the next mouthful. Like that, sometimes in the breathing it can happen, so be careful. Just try to be with the breath as a whole. It's a whole. We call it kaya, if you are quite used to the satipatthana or anapanasati Pali terms. Kaya, so that whole breath is as a whole. Just be with it as it happens from the start of the intake to the last minute. Don't think about the next. Don't even sort of go to the next. Sometimes we might feel it shallow, and then you might forget. You might not see the end of that in breath. Try to be with that in breath from the start to the end. That's why some of you might be used to the 1, 2, 3 technique. The start, as soon the pinning point in the start can be 1, 2, and when it finishes 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so being with the breath allows, that is, you're giving the mind a job, and it allows you to stay with the breath. Learn how to stay with the breath fully. Don't actually get involved with your thought processes. Don't get involved with the encounters your mind is taking, because all of the time those three might be coming in the forefront to support your involvement and judgment. Tanha, mana, ditthi. Attachment, sensory or sensual attachments that you have. Okay, so which might also mean you are getting too dissatisfied with the breathing and you're looking for some excitement. And then sometimes your comparative or your, because as soon as that attitude comes, conceit comes, we forget where we are, who we are, and lots of the time your fixed views also just comes in and it's too late when you start getting involved with it. We forget who we are as well and what we are doing, because we are always pursuing something to meet the need of the I. So we will meditate for the next 20 minutes now with that short reflection. We will just forget everything what I said. Just train your mind to watch the breath. Okay, just train your mind to watch the breath. Just be with the breath. Okay. So choose, or if you want to adjust yourself, please go ahead. So your back straight. Right hand on your left palm. Gently place in your lap, and eyes closed. So we are going to meditate for about 20 minutes. If you wish to, you can continue for longer. So once you have closed your eyes, just be determined that that is the posture you're going to take for the next 20 minutes. So nothing should make you move. Even if it does, observe the temptation, observe the state of mind and your reaction, let it go. Okay, so 3 R's: recognize, release, return. First of all, just observe your sitting posture. That is what you are at the moment. Straight back, body bent at your hips and legs, at the knees. Feet firm on the floor, or if you're sitting cross-legged, your side of your ankles or legs touching the floor. Just observe that stillness within oneself. You're not moving. And just observe that quiet, peaceful body. It's not restless. There is alertness, there is effort into that alertness and stillness. You are purposely focusing on something, so we are not wandering, following our desires or expectations. Just be mindful of your location as yourself, wherever you are. Perhaps if people are sitting with you, notice their presence. Be mindful of where you are. And now come back to your own self. You're all still, but one thing is happening. You are breathing. So just watch that breath. You're not regulating it, you're not forcing or planning to breathe, it happens automatically. Be mindful of that. Just observe that breath. It's such a wonderful feeling that we are breathing. Just observe that breath. If you think your breath is shallow at the moment, take a deep breath, maybe 3 times, and release it. Take another deep breath. And there's so many things associated with that breath, from your physical reaction to even your mental thoughts. When you breathe in, we feel refreshed, and that is happening perhaps when we are mindful. When we breathe out, we feel relaxed. That is also happening if we are mindful. Breathing in, breathing out. So you can see if your mind goes to those reactions, then you can relate it to the body, and you can do meditation on that as well. If your mind goes in the pain, sensation, because you are feeling perhaps through the breath you feel cold, into your nostrils or warmth coming out. Even if you feel some pain or other sensation, then you can notice that. And it becomes Vedananupasana. If your mind wanders and you are aware of it and any thoughts come to your head, then it becomes Chittanupasana, mindfulness of the mind. If you see the presence and absence for some reason, maybe the pain is gone, for example, or the long breath has become short, and you realize that, then it becomes Dhammanupasana, mindfulness on the nature of things, such as impermanence. But don't purposely try to do that, just observe your breath. Breathing is the foundation to train your mind to be still. So breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. If you are used to breathe and meditate on your own, please go ahead as you have been practicing. Otherwise, you can use, if you're a beginner, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. Should your mind wander, just note it, let it go, come back to breathing. to stay with your breath as a whole, from the moment it starts to the moment it finishes, both in breath and out breath. And just observe that breath as it happens. if you were mindful of your breathing, even for a few moments in a continuous way, it is a great success. So as I said earlier, all the time, even if you, as soon as you stop doing something, your mind is always into planning or going back to your memories, digging information out, and always thinking, what now? So it does develop lots of thought processes, including all the unnecessary, perhaps anxiety or fear. So if you're mindful day in, day out of the way your mind works, it can really help and transform your living, yourself. So let's break the habit of getting involved with our thoughts always, with opinions in our mindsets, being judgmental all the time, and learn how to see as it is, so that you can let go of things that are unnecessary, beyond your control. Lots of things are beyond our control, perhaps everything. So we can let go of things that are not really changeable or not really worth getting involved into, such as our memories and thoughts. Okay, so be mindful and try to keep your mind healthy by being positive during this time of difficulty, especially when you're restricted with things that you could possibly do. It's important to look after your mind. So do join us again next Thursday for this session of reflection on mindfulness and short practice. So do continue to meditate every day. So if you are joining us, we go live every day at 7 o'clock, sharing our puja, chanting and meditation. So apart from Thursdays, we do meditation on loving kindness. So thank you for joining with us today. Have a very good evening, stay safe, take care, and have a very good night. Bye-bye, good night, see you tomorrow at 7.